Hey everyone, I'm Coach Phoenix,
And I'm Coach Gina.
and you with Toast with the Coaches.
Cheers. Everyone, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Perspective, the show where we drink and talk about life, the universe, and all that other jazz.
Again, I'm Coach Phoenix, owner and CEO of Role Model Life Coaching. At Role Model Life Coaching, we focus on life transitions. At Role Model Life Coaching, we also partner with our clients to help them navigate down the road of life towards their model selves.
Man, Phoenix, I still can never get over your pitch. The model self is just, it's what we all dream of, right? To be that person we envision ourselves to be. So hook up with Phoenix. If you are in a place and you want to get to that other place to be your better self, you hook up with Phoenix. He will help you get there. I am
Exactly.
Coach Gina. I'm a certified life coach and founder of Clear Focus Coaching. I specialize in helping entrepreneurs untangle the challenge of starting up a business, finding a work-life balance, and staying accountable to their goals. I also specialize in empowering women. I help women to recognize their strength, potential, and work-life relationships so they can face every day with confidence and intention.
Click that link below. Gina is a super dope coach. If you don't know, now you know. So, with that being said, I want to make a toast. I want to make a toast to an author, a combat veteran, a current Army Reserve Company commander, a decorated police officer, Southern Officer West. Cheers.
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 How you doing, my brother? Thank you for joining us. We really, really appreciate your courage and the opportunity for you to bless us today. Last week we had another amazing officer, Officer Ed, East Coast Officer Ed, and today we got another amazing guest that's going to share his perspective. Again, his perspective. He don't speak for the entire police officer or his department, police force and his department, but he's going to give us his perspective as a African American police officer in America today. So again, cheers. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, cheers, man. Cheers. Thank you, Brother Phoenix. Thank you, Miss Gina. Hey, look, it is first and foremost, it's an honor and pleasure to be on the show. I greatly appreciate this moment and opportunity. Like I said, it's really a blessing, and it's greatly warranted and appreciated. Thank you. I mean, I'm here. I'm here by the grace of God. And I just want to just come out and, like I said again, share my experiences with the world, share my thoughts, and also to answer questions that you two may have about policing in today's America, and also to share my experiences and stuff I've been through and everything, and I'm also to maybe briefly talk about the military experience and stuff like that. But other than that, hey, look, it's a great and wonderful opportunity. I'm greatly appreciative for this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that. So let's get right into it. I guess my first question is, being a black man in America and being a police officer, I know you kind of have to be pulled to both ways. Before we get into your police officer, your police experience, I kind of want to know, like, what was your upbringing like? How were you raised? And what type of influences led you to becoming a police officer? Hey everyone, I'm Coach Phoenix,
And I'm Coach Gina.
and you with Toast with the Coaches.
Cheers. Everyone, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Perspective, the show where we drink and talk about life, the universe, and all that other jazz.
Again, I'm Coach Phoenix, owner and CEO of Role Model Life Coaching. At Role Model Life Coaching, we focus on life transitions. At Role Model Life Coaching, we also partner with our clients to help them navigate down the road of life towards their model selves.
Man, Phoenix, I still can never get over your pitch. The model self is just, it's what we all dream of, right? To be that person we envision ourselves to be. So hook up with Phoenix. If you are in a place and you want to get to that other place to be your better self, you hook up with Phoenix. He will help you get there.
Exactly.
I am Coach Gina. I'm a certified life coach and founder of Clear Focus Coaching. I specialize in helping entrepreneurs untangle the challenge of starting up a business, finding a work-life balance, and staying accountable to their goals. I also specialize in empowering women. I help women to recognize their strength, potential, and work-life relationships so they can face everyday life.
I was raised in the state of Virginia, more so Petersburg specifically. Petersburg is about 73 to 80% African-American community. Raised in a single parent household, mother, raised on Section 8, and so forth. Didn't have much growing up, as far as money and resources and stuff like that. So pretty much like any kid growing up in the, late 90s, early 2000s, especially as a teen, you work with what you have, and being in a single parent household, whatever the case may be, you just said, you pray to God, and you get what you get and everything. So with that being said, seeing my mother, struggle and stuff to raise me. And I'm not the only child, by the way. I do have a sister. My sister is 15 years older than I am. But by the time I was a teenager, she was up and gone out of the house and, living her life or wherever the case may be, making her own mark in the world and society. So pretty much I kind of came up the only kid, even though I was not the only kid. But however, again, going back to the point, so I grew up pretty much in a single parent household, mother, watching her struggle, watching her, wanting to see the best for me. It made me build a drive in myself to want to do better for myself as well. So a little bit, probably like my last year of middle school into high school, I made a decision that I wanted to join the military. More specifically the United States Army. So, so here it is, kid growing up. Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? This will defend.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What made you choose the Army specifically?
Because most of my mentors were Army veterans. They were military retired, all of them Army. I had not one Marine influence, not one Air Force influence, not one Navy influence, not one Coast Guard. Everybody was Army. So a lot of these guys were retired. A lot of these guys were my teachers, my JRTC instructor. I was in JRTC in high school, did all 4 years. One of the most stellar cadets there. So a lot of these influences pretty much used to, speak to me, talk to me about it, how great the Army treated them. They used to tell them about the places that the Army took them to, like, they were talking about like how life was for them in Germany, Korea, where else? France, and even different states in the United States, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, U.S. territories and stuff like that. So again, hearing that as a kid from an inner city urban environment where, the poverty rate is a little over 50%. And, all you see is, drug dealers, people with severe mental health issues and so forth. When you hear stuff like that, it's like, man, I could be a part of this. I could do this. I can go to these places and don't have to be a product of my environment, and it was, it was good to hear. It was good feedback to hear. It was good mentorship and guidance. So I said, I want to be like him, or I want to be like her. I want to join the United States Army, serve my country, and get to travel everywhere around the world, and make a difference.
Your teachers and your influences, were they also Black people of color, or were they white, or were they a whole bunch of, like different races and, and did that make a difference for you? Like, was it like, oh, I see another Black man and he's doing, and I believe that I can do what he's doing? Or was it just your mentors in your life?
Most of my mentors, more specifically, retired Army vets and stuff, they were, most of them were African American. I've had a few white mentors. Some mostly as I went further along in my career, whatever the case may be. But most of them were African American, and most of them came from the same background that I came from. Most of them came from single parent households. Being raised by just their mother or their grandmother. Father wasn't in their life either. Unfortunately, either their father was murdered, or incarcerated.
Yeah.
And so like me, you know, them like me, you know, they wanted a way out too. They wanted a way out where, you know, hey, look, they didn't have to be a product of their environment. You know, they could, you know, go out and do something meaningful and make a difference and give back to the, you know, to their community and nation. So they all decided to, you know, join the United States Army.
Yes, got you. So I have a question. So I'm familiar with Petersburg, and I know it's considered a hood, right? Am I not mistaken?
The majority of it, yes, yeah. So yes,
I know
yes.
Petersburg is okay. Let me correct myself. Just like most cities today in America, things are getting gentrified. But I'm talking about more specifically when you was growing up. Petersburg was considered a hood. Would you say?
Yes,
Okay.
I would say that.
Yes, most of Petersburg at the time, because when I went to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, got you.
So can I interject here with
Yeah.
a little bit of my ignorance? Can either of you describe what hood means? Because I know my perspective of what hood means, but I want to know, like, having lived there, you know, there's an outsider's perspective, and then there's growing up there. Like, what was that experience like?
Okay. I know you heard of the term the trap.
I have not.
You never heard of it? You never heard of the term the trap?
Bro, you gotta break it down in perspective, man.
Please explain this to me like I'm 3.
Okay. So, you know, some people call it the hood, some people call it the trap. There's several names for it, for whatever the case may be. So pretty much, you know, it's an impoverished community where maybe 50% of the city or town, you know, people are on welfare, but not just welfare, they're on drugs severely. There's lack of resources, lack of jobs in the community. Also too, you know, most of your role models are the dope boys or the drug dealers that are in the streets or whatever, because those are the only people that you see out here making money, but they making money doing illegal stuff. You know what I'm saying? Also too, just, you know, outright just, you know, hey, you know, kids going to school with, you know, dirty clothes on because the parents can't afford, you know, the you know, finer clothes or the nicer clothes.
Fathers in a home, gang infested.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible condition, and it's a condition that is generation and generation and generation generationally passed down. Because, like you said, lack of resources, uncles that was in those tangible needs that was in Officers West life. So, do you have a better understanding, Gina, what that is, the hood?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. And is that why you were using the phrase the trap? Is that kind of like the analogy of it is that atmosphere kind of becomes a trap that's difficult to escape from? My ignorance is right. Here we go. I want to know.
No. I wouldn't call it your ignorance. Because I wouldn't call it ignorance because you're willing to learn. See, ignorance is when you're not trying to be educated. You're asking questions to get educated on it. Ignorance is just, you know, you just don't want to know about it. You don't care to know about it. You have a biased perspective and you're just going to stick with that. That's ignorance, but you're trying to be educated on it. So no, by any means, no, ask questions. So that way you can be educated on it. I wouldn't call it ignorant. Brother Phoenix.
That was an awesome question, Gina. I think that a lot of our viewers probably want to know the same. So coming from the hood, right? And I know you had the role models like your uncles, but being around the drugs and being around the gangs and seeing individuals making money and coming from where you're coming from a family where you're on Section 8, and I bet you, like myself, you probably went some hungry nights. So what kept you on the straight path? I know you say your uncles was there, but what else, or if any, what kept you on that path rather than joining those gangs or being going that left, that hard route like I took to learn mistakes to get here? What kept you on the straight path?
Honestly, again, just having those mentors in my life that stayed on me. Now, I would say I was a pretty well decent kid growing up, but I also had flaws too, like any other kid. You know, you also see the dope boys with the nice clothes, nice cars, nice looking girls or whatever like that. And, you know, you like, man, you know what? What's the point of me going to this school, you know, doing this school shit if, you know, dude over there look like he ain't hungry. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he well fed. He looked like he doing the thing. You know what I'm saying? And here it is. You know,
you sound like that was intriguing. Is what I was getting from you. I was like, was it ever intriguing to like see like, hey, let me see what that lifestyle was like, or did you always stay far away from it?
I would say the physical aspect of it was intriguing, but at the end of the day, you know, there was nothing out of it at the end of the day. There's no retirement in it. There's no, you know, there's no end means where we can say, you know what, I can enjoy my life. You know, I've never known. Now the thing is, even though physically it looked intriguing, I mean, look wonderful. But however, I have not known not one drug dealer that actually made it. I didn't know not one. Most of the, you know, you look on the news, you know, old boy down the street just got popped, you know, whatever like that. What was it over? Drugs. What was it over? A corner. What was it over? You know, the type of colors he had on, whatever the case may be. So it was hearing that and seeing that, you know, made me think like, you know what? This is not a life for me. Even though it looks intriguing, even though it looks like, yo, this is what I would like to do. Again, these mentors in my life, they retired. They had they had nice clothes, nice cars. You know, a lot of these retired military, nice home, big homes. I mean the same homes that the dope boys had, or the dope boys was trying to obtain, or drug dealers trying to obtain. These military retirees had it. You know, brother,
without the risk.
Exactly.
You know, so I was like, you know what? What's the point of me, you know, going out here getting killed for nothing when I could go out here and serve my country and serve my nation, and you know what, get paid to do it. You know, get respect doing it. You know, be a role model and give back to the kids like my role models gave back to me.
Tangible me, you heard?
Exactly, and still be able to have nice cars, nice clothes. You know. Nice home, you know, living good.
So let's touch on that. So you say you went to the military. So you follow your role model's footsteps. You went into the military. You just not enlisted or joined the military. You became an officer in the military. You served in combat. Let's talk about some of those combat tours and what was that like being in combat? Like, were you actually in combat? Were you back in the rear? What was that experience like? And then how did that lead you to become a police officer?
Honestly, with that, I was honestly, to be honest with you, I was back in the rear. I honestly never. It's gonna get interesting later, but I never really fired a weapon or got fired at until I became a police officer.
Whoa! Hold on. So let's push forward to that. So go. What was that experience like? Where, if you can't say where, I mean, were you in a hood, like majority black or people of color neighborhood, or impoverished neighborhood, or was you in the suburbs? Like, what was that experience like? And then what happened? Can you touch base on like that story? Super interesting.
All right, so you know, I was a police officer for the first department that I worked for. I was a police officer in that community, which that community was the 73 to 75% African American community. The area that we were in would be considered to most more of the upscale neighborhood, but growing up let me backtrack this first of all before I get into that. All right, so the first department that I worked for, I actually grew up in that community. So I'm from Petersburg, Virginia, so I actually was a Petersburg police officer at the time. So that was
part of that. He's not in Petersburg anymore, so you can't find him there. Thought you was slick. Keep going.
So with that being said, that's where, I learned how to be a police officer. That's how I learned the streets. But anyways, going back to the topic. So growing up in that community, the area that my incident happened in, growing up, it was considered the more upscale. But then as the years went by, whatever like that, the more upscale neighborhoods kind of end up turning and transition into more of, becoming like more of the lower grade neighborhoods and areas. So the area where it happened at is a business district of the community that I was a police officer in. And so long story short, if you want me to go ahead and talk about it.
Yes, please.
All right. So long story short, this one night around, say, 2:00 in the morning, a restaurant that usually hosts hip hop night, kind of like a bar club type scene. They were letting out at 2:00 in the morning. And the community that I was a police officer in, we have a high call volume, which where I work, or as I should say, is that our call for services were so high that a lot of times, you're on call back to back to back to back, which means, officers are busy doing this. They might be busy handling domestics. They might be busy handling somebody shot. They might be busy handling this and that. So a lot of times we're always on call. We're always on the go. Once you finish up one call, you're going to another one. You're going to another one. You're going to another one. So this particular night, I happened to be the only officer that was available because all the other officers were busy due to the high call volume. And this local restaurant that hosts hip hop night had closed at 2:00 in the morning. So all the restaurant traffic ended up going to a gas station that was like less than 1 minute away. And that was normal routine. It was normal, or whatever the case may be, because every time the clubs are out, most of the time they're going, the club scene crew, they're going to the gas stations, get snacks, eat, whatever the case may be. So this particular night, the gas station that they were going to was closed. It wasn't even open. It was closed. So I just, showed my presence there or whatever like that, just to make sure, I just watched, make sure nothing goes wrong or whatever the case may be. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like, you know what, okay, all of these, people from the club scene, they're here at the gas station that's closed. Okay, they're probably going to realize that the gas station is closed and move along, whatever. And joke's on me, that's not what happened. They actually stayed. They actually loitered. A lot of them got out their cars and was, bumping the music all up loud, whatever like that, smoking, talking, whatever the case may be. So, so me being a police officer, I went on ahead and pretty much just stayed on scene just to make sure nothing happened. And as I'm on scene, I'm radioing dispatch, letting them know, hey, look, there's over like 100 people out here, over 50 cars out here. Just be advised that, hey, look.
They turned the parking lot into a club.
Right. Exactly.
Stuff, right? Isn't that like a normal thing? Like, isn't that like within that community and that culture? Isn't that something that happens and people do things like that? Like, after party.
I mean, people. Yeah, they do things like that, but it was a little weird that they would, I would say, loiter or trespass in at a gas station that was closed. Now, if it was a gas station that was open, I'm used to seeing them go to a gas station that's open, like the 7-Eleven or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And go in, come out, or whatever like that. That was normal. What wasn't normal was being at a gas station that was closed. Like, you can't get in. You're not getting in, no snacks or nothing, but they still stay
right.
there.
Like, what are you doing there? Because you're not getting there's nothing to provide you services here.
Right. Yeah. So anywho, I'm just there, just keeping an eye on everything, whatever like that. And next thing all of a sudden, I start seeing, these group of guys start congregating together and everything. And the way it just looked totally suspicious. And what I mean, and I know you hear that a lot from police officers, it looks suspicious. Well, define suspicious.
Yeah, walk us through that.
So meaning there was a group of guys congregating. They kind of formed this little circular formation. And like, so imagine a bunch of guys in a circle and they talking to each other. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden, all you hear is a bunch of "fuck you, nigga, nigga what, nigga, fuck you, nigga." You know, that's all I heard. So obviously, right there, I know that there was a conflict going on. So what I did was I radioed the dispatch, and when you radio the dispatch, everybody, all the other officers can hear what you're saying over the radio. So I pretty much notified dispatch, say, hey, look, you know, there seems to be a altercation get ready to happen or whatever. I see these guys forming up in a kind of like a fighting circular formation, you know, whatever like that. I need more officers here ASAP. So I ended up turning on my emergency lights like, hey, look, you know, just in case if anybody did not know that there was police around, hey, look, police officers available, police is out here, hey, look, cut that out. So next thing, all of a sudden, I got my emergency lights on, right? Ain't nobody give a fuck about that. Nobody cared about that. They still out there, fuck you, nigga, fuck the police. I can hear somebody say, man, fuck the police, we don't give a shit about the police. So next thing you know, all of a sudden, you know, I can see from like far off, it was like another group of guys was like forming up, whatever the case may be. I'm like, what in the world? So I'm still just keeping in touch with dispatch, whatever, letting them know what's going on. Next thing I hear officers on the radio keying up like, hey, you know, hey, Wes, we're coming to you. Hey, Wes, we're coming to you. We'd be out there. We'd be on the way or whatever. So next thing you know, all of a sudden, I'm still seeing the whole, you know, fuck you, nigga. What's up? What you got? What's up, nigga? Whatever the case may be. So the next thing you know, I hit my emergency sirens. I just flick them like, whoop, 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 whoop. Like, you know, hey, look, you know, cut that out. I see what's going on. I can hear what's going on, whatever the case may be. And next thing you know, all of a sudden, I see this one dude just turn around and just, pow, hit dude in the face. Like, just like, stick him.
Right in front of you.
Huh?
He said right in front of you.
Yeah, like right in front of me. I just happened to see that. You know, all of a sudden you see this big brawl going on. Like this just like fight. You know, so next thing, say it again.
I said it's like a fucking movie. You looking at it like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Like a move. Like what the fuck? So all you like mind you, it's like over 100 people out here. Over 100 people.
That is a lot more people than I had in my brain. I'm thinking like 2 groups of 10, you know.
No. So anyway, so next thing you know, all of a sudden, within that split second after dude got hit, all I hear is like shots fired. Pow, 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 pow. All of a sudden, I get out my car, I take cover, I get on my radio, and I'm yelling, shots fired, shots fired. Everybody, you know, I need all units to get here now. And next thing you know, all of a sudden, that's when you hear screaming. You see people getting in their cars trying to drive off. You see people running from the gas station across the street. Just total chaos.
Yeah.
And then dudes are still fighting out there. Dudes still just going at it. You know what I'm saying? So next thing you know, all of a sudden, so now here it is. You know, I'm like hiding behind my police car taking cover, and 2 things I'm looking for, which goes back to military training. You're either looking for the person shot or the person doing the shooting. And then you're looking for what we call the 3 Ds in the military: distance, direction, description. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I don't see none of that. I don't see nobody shot, but I don't see the gunman either. So next thing you know, all of a sudden, all I see is just people still fighting, people running, whatever. The next thing you know, all of a sudden, I went to this clothing dispenser. You know how some of these gas stations have clothing dispensers, like if you want to like donate clothes or whatever like that.
Oh yeah, like the Salvation Army boxes kind of things.
Right. So there was a clothing dispenser, like maybe like I'll say like maybe about 20 feet away from my car or whatever like that. And what I did was I ran from my car to the clothing dispenser because the view from the clothing dispenser, I could see everything. You know what I'm saying? I could see everything. I could see all the people. I could see, you know, I could try to see if I could locate somebody shot, whatever the case may be. So going from the car to the clothing dispenser, I hear about 4 more shots go off. Pow, 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 pow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then, so I'm still taking cover. And then next thing you know, I'm looking. I'm like, you know, my head's like on a swivel everywhere.
You say they don't fuck about the police presence.
Nothing. Did not.
Also,
at this time is that shit like, woo, 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 woo.
Like, also, this just freaks me out that you, like, get out of your car and your first thought is, like, let me move closer to this so I can get a better view. Where I'm sitting here thinking, like, I hear a shot fired and I'm getting my ass out of there. Like, I'm gone. But you're, like, people that are, like, that serve their country are, like, I need to go towards this. I need to protect. That is, like, it's insane, the bravery that's involved in that.
Yeah, continue. That's crazy.
Yeah. So then next thing you know, all of a sudden, as I'm scanning, all of a sudden I see a guy behind, like at the rear corner of the gas station, and he's hiding, but I see the gun in his hand. He's the only person I see with a gun in his hand. The only person. So next thing you know, all of a sudden, I stopped, looked at him for a minute or whatever case may be. Now, at this time, I'm taking cover behind the clothing dispenser. So I see him, but he doesn't see me. And at this point in moment, excuse me, all I see him doing is he walks from the rear corner of the gas station, starts walking toward a group of guys that are still fighting. And all I hear him yelling is, "What, nigga? What? Fuck y'all niggas. Fuck all y'all niggas." And has the gun in his hand, doing all this motion and stuff like that. So at that point in moment, I did what I had to do, as what we call in the law enforcement world, stop the threat. And I went on ahead and executed. And
you didn't identify yourself? You didn't say, yo, you didn't say police, put your gun down?
Honestly, at that moment, I was so in fear of my life, honestly, that I felt as though that if they already knew police presence was there by my car being there, my lights being there, my sirens being there, then obviously they ain't worried about police at all. And at that point,
how do you process all of that just like that? How do you process that?
I'm gonna be honest with you, just that military upbringing. That military I'm an infantry officer, so I'm infantry by trade. So, you know, and Brother Phoenix, you know, the infantry, that's what we do. We train to shoot, move, communicate. We train to make split-second decisions. We're trained to, you know, keep your head on a swivel. And
that moment. Right. Is that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, so at that point in moment, you know, I'm so in fear of my life and everything that, you know what, I knew I had to stop this guy before he kills somebody. He's an imminent threat. He's the only guy out there with a subject with a gun out there. And at that point in moment, I had to do what I had to do to not only save my life, but the lives of everybody else that's out there. Shots have already been fired. So obviously right there, we already know that there is an active shooter. There's an imminent threat. And as a police officer, no matter if it's one of you or 20 of you, you got to respond to the threat. You can't just run. You can't just hide somewhere. You know, in the police world, you can get charged with what we call cowardice and malfeasance. Yeah. So for example, one of the schools that I think had a school shooting about maybe a year or two ago, you might have heard about on the news. The school resource officer, which is the police officers that they put in the schools to help try to keep the order and everything like that. Their school resource officer heard shots, and instead of him running to the threat to stop the threat, he ran out the school and didn't even do his job. And he got found guilty by the Department of Cowardice. And so, he was
charge?
That again?
Was that a charge, or did he get indicted?
Let me clarify that. So when I say get charged with cowardice, that cowardice is not a charge, but within the department, the most departments have within their policies and stuff like that. They have different things. You know, you could be found, I guess, negligent of, and one of them is cowardice. You know,
so it's like a mark on your permanent record kind of thing.
It could be a mark on your permanent record, and most of the time with cowardice, you get fired for that. It's not. It's not so much a jailable offense or anything like that, but with your job as a law enforcement officer, you can. Yeah, if internal affairs review the situation, they say, hey, look, you know, there was an active shooter in that school. You're the school resource officer, and instead of you doing your job and due diligence to stop the threat and save the lives of everybody in that school, which you swore to do, you turned around and turned the other way. That right there is a fireable offense. And guess what? That's on your record. I don't know one police agency that will hire anybody that is found negligent of cowardice.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's the job that you sign up for, I guess, is to serve and protect. And if you immediately run from that when you're faced with it, then, I mean, I can understand that. I do have a question, though. So I didn't know that information. I had no idea that that was part of policy. So I'm curious, how is that idea balanced between like cowardice, but also like not shooting people? Like how do you balance those two things and make that decision and calculate and like figure that out to like not murder somebody, but also like protect everybody when there is imminent danger? How do you assess that?
And in that moment, in that situation that she's talking about, did you feel like the cop was right or he was wrong? I want to throw that in there too.
Honestly, okay, I'm gonna speak from two perspectives. Okay. I'm gonna do y'all a favor and speak from two perspectives. All right.
I like it.
I'm gonna speak to you from me try to maybe just looking at it like most of America looked at it, and then I'm gonna give you the perspective of how a police officer looks at it.
No, give us a perspective from a black man and give us a perspective from a police officer.
3 perspectives.
Yeah, that shit too, bro.
Okay, as a black man in America, if Philando Castile, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy all the way around. No matter speaking from a black man, police officer, average American, it's a tragedy all the way around. But as a black man in America, I do feel like that there are officers who fear for their life, not because of that being an imminent danger, but just because they're not used to certain types and cultures of people. Mm-hmm. So because they're not used to different types of cultures of people, or they're uneducated, they have a fear of something that they don't understand. So stereotypically, as a black man in America, if all you see on the TV is black men being portrayed as thugs, gangsters, whatever the case may be, as a black man in America, I feel like those who are not familiar, those who are not that don't have a cultural awareness of who we are as people, I feel like they base their biasness off what they see, and then they build a fear. So when certain officers or certain types of officers pull over African Americans and specifically black men, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And then when it comes to mind, the first thing they do is they get in fear for their own life because of what they see, and then they make decisions like a Philando Castile.
So what I'm hearing is that fear of the imminent danger isn't coming from a weapon or what we would consider like a realistic dangerous situation where you would be in danger of your life because of a weapon, but it's because of somebody's skin color and the idea that you have around that.
Right, because some people have said it, I've heard this term used before, to some people being black alone is a weapon that they fear. And I've heard that term used before.
How do you feel as being black and a police officer? Do you feel like being black is a weapon?
Are you speaking from just being like being both black and a police officer?
No, like, okay, take the police officer, take your badge off, and just being in America. Like, I'm in America like you, and you know, it's no secret. Like, our community feel like being black is a weapon, and we get bullied or picked on because we're black. So, have you experienced that, or do you feel that racism when you're not wearing a badge, or if when your peers do not know that you're a police officer? Can you contest to that bias?
Yes. Actually, to be honest with you, yes, I have experienced that. I have experienced racial bias, or what they call sometimes subconscious racism. I don't know if you ever heard of the term subconscious racism before, but it's more so when people they are pretty much racist, or they have racist ideologies. I hope I'm saying that right, but they don't know they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like well, I didn't know that comes off as being racist or prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I'm gonna give you an example. Like, no offense to you, Gina, but like, let's just say, for example, if a white woman sees a black woman and the black woman has pretty hair, that the white woman wants to say, "Ooh, you have pretty hair. Can I?" And then just starts touching the black woman's hair.
Mm-hmm.
That can come off as subliminal racist or subliminal prejudice context or contents, wherever. So with that being said, you might not mean to come off that way, or that might not have been what you meant to do, but in Black America, that's a form of prejudice and a form of racism.
Mm-hmm.
And it also goes back to civil rights and slavery in the United States, especially when it comes to talking about hair, straight hair, what they call straight hair, what they call kinky hair, whatever the case may be. But yes, I have experienced it. I've experienced it in the U.S. Army as an infantry soldier. Even I wouldn't say so much in the police world, but I would say, but I will say this: in the police world, at certain parts and aspects, it wasn't hard to know that, hey, over here we're family. You're the outsider.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like, it's not, like, for example, it's not hard to it's not hard to pretty much look and see how certain groups of people cling to each other, and they talk to each other about, hey, the fishing trips, the boat rides, the going over to the houses and having a barbecue, and you're sitting on the other end of the table, and you're in a group, so you're eating with the group, but you're by yourself. You're not having it's not like anybody ask for your thoughts or your opinions or your or what you think, and it's not that hard to tell the difference. And it's not that hard to feel it.
Yeah, like you're there, but you're not included.
Right.
So
exactly.
I'm curious that, like, as growing up as an African American in America and seeing the way that, as you said, specifically Black men have been profiled by police officers throughout, as long as I can remember, and as long as as most people can remember, this has always been going on. How did that cause like an internal conflict for you at all, to be like, well, how did you come to, I want to be a police officer, when also seeing like police brutality? Was that a thing for you at all? Did it cause conflict? If so, how did you resolve?
I came to the conclusion to be a police officer in mid 2014. Mid 2014, I was overseas, and my contract on active duty was coming to an end. So I missed out on my son's first 7 months of life. And I found out that the unit that I was possibly getting ready to get transferred to was going back overseas 2 months after I get back to the States. So which means possibly I might not would have seen my son until he was probably 2.
Oh, man.
So I made a decision to, get out of the Army and say, you know what, look, I worked this hard to be in the Army, but I'm still going to go ahead and keep my military career. So I'm going to join the United States Army Reserves, so that way I can still keep a military career. But at the same token, too, what is it that I want to do that can match kind of something that I do in the Army? So as an infantry guy, the main, the most common thing would be to be a police officer or a security contractor, whatever case may be. So I said, you know what? I got a degree in criminal justice. So I think I want to, pursue a career in law enforcement. So when my military time was up, I ended up moving back to my home state, Virginia, and I applied to be a police officer in the town that I grew up in. And fortunate enough for me, I was able to get hired, and I went through the police academy. And next thing you know, hey, I'm on the street. And but however, a little bit before I became a police officer, in between leaving active duty and being hired as a police officer, that's when the whole Mike Brown thing had kicked off in Ferguson. And as every other American, especially a black man, you see that and you're like, man, oh my God, like really? Are you serious? Why? Why did this happen? So for me, when I saw something like the Ferguson shooting with Mike Brown, I said to myself that, you know what? I want to be a cop. That's the reason why I want to be a cop. Not to shoot somebody, but because I want to make a difference in my community. I want to make a difference in a community where people who look like me, who talk like me, who come from where I come from, they could see me and I could be a role model to them or their children. I want,
Yes.
because one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is that you can't make change in a system if you're not willing to join the system or not willing to be a part of the system. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So many people would say, well, like some of the guys on the street that I might encounter or whatever like that, why don't you, apply to be a police officer? If you don't have any if you don't have any felonies or serious misdemeanors, why don't you apply to become a police officer? And most of the responses you get is, man, I ain't trying to be a snitch. I ain't trying to be one time. I ain't trying to be a police and stuff like that. But you complain so much about police brutality and what you see on TV. If it wholeheartedly makes you feel some type of way, why don't you be a part of the change? Because Black Americans in the law enforcement world are so underrepresented. It's, I don't know the statistical figures, so I'm not trying to quote facts, but just thinking off my head, maybe per every 8 to 10 police officers, one is Black. So like I said, again, that's not factual, but that's like in my mind based off of how where I worked and the experience.
So I guess my next question would be, given that passion that you had to become a police officer because you felt like you was making a change in your community, I guess, how do you feel with the current climate in America and the outcries for defunding police officers? How do you feel that the administration and legislation currently with your department is restricting you from doing your job, and how is that hurting your efforts in helping and serving your community?
Great question.
I do feel like that there needs to be some major changes with the policing culture. I do feel like
what? Can you go into that?
Okay, so like for example, Brother Phoenix, you're a veteran yourself, so how the military, we have sharp classes all the time. We have cultural awareness classes all the time. They make it an annual requirement, but sometimes it ends up becoming a quarterly thing. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the year.
Not like that in the department?
Honestly, from my experience, not that much.
It's funny that because Gina, if you remember last week when we had Officer Ed, that was one of his key call outs, is that it needs to be more multicultural training. Maybe bring like Gina and I to come into police departments and do like some corporate coaching and leadership training around multicultural encounters and experiences. That's a good one.
Yeah. Right. I'm also really curious, like, why do you think that is? Because I'm hearing, even with the situation that you were describing earlier with the parking lot and the fights, like, a lot of what you were saying was, this is when my military training came in. This is where, I took these classes and I was drilled on this and I trained this, and like it was over and over and over again that you learned those skills and you really honed them to be able to help you and support you in making those correct decisions in a split second. But had you not been in the service, it sounds like you wouldn't have got that training or that support. And I'm wondering, why? Like, why is that in one place in the United States, in the training that we're having for military people, but it's not in the police force? Why is that?
Honestly, to be honest with you, I can't answer that question because I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't. But the military, the military, the military had, the military is, everything strict, dress right, dress, whatever. They have policies, rules, regulations for everything.
Everything. Putting on your jacket correctly, putting on your shirt, how you should sit, how you should talk.
You should wash your ass.
Left. So the military is no right or wrong. You can never get the wrong answer. If you think it's right or you think it's wrong, what they will tell you, what you tell you, bro, look where? Look in the regulations.
Exactly. So, or my favorite, what does the Bible say? And they talking about the regulation, not the actual Holy Bible, but they're talking about the regulation.
Every aspect of your life, there's something to guide you to get there, to get to point A, point B, what to say, what to do, how to eat, how to sleep, dress right, dress, total line. Yeah, cheers to the fucking military, man. What?
It's really interesting.
But going back to the question though, but however, I do believe there should be more cultural awareness training. I do believe there should be more equal opportunity training like that the military gives. I also believe there should be more sexual harassment and response prevention like the military, which we call SHARP in the military. I do believe there should be a lot more of that in the police world. But as far as the defunding the police movement, I'm gonna be honest with you, I cannot agree with that. And I will tell you why I cannot agree with that. When I first started working in the police, for the first police department I worked for, our city went through a financial crisis. And the leaders of the leaders, and what I mean by the leaders, the council, city manager, whatever case may be, one of their, and I'm not talking bad about them, I respect their position and authority, but one of the things they came up with as a solution to get the town back on a financial upscale was to cut 10% of all city workers' pay. So everybody that works for the city. So if you're a police officer, if you are EMS, if you're fire, if you all emergency resources, their idea was to cut all city workers to include your emergency response personnel's pay by 10%. Now, 10% might not sound like a lot to somebody that's making over $100,000. But if you're a police officer and at that time making on an average of $40,000 to $43,000 a year, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And when that and I call that a defundment because technically that's what it is. So when that happened, the police department I worked for, we lost about a good 20 to 30 police officers, and most of them were like the well-experienced, the seniors. Who had all the wealth of knowledge, to teach us and to train us how to be good police officers. So when they left, people like me who just started kind of had to learn on the go. So for me, it wasn't no time for one in police, and there's no room for mistakes, period. But there was really no room for mistakes. So I had to turn around and crack down on my criminal code book, really learn the laws, really learn traffic laws, learn what are considered misdemeanors, what are considered felonies. It was no time for me to really, play like catch up. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? You were it. You know what I'm saying? When you get out there on those streets, the citizens that you have sworn to protect expect you to know how to handle their problems and issues. That's why they call you, because they want you to handle it. They expect you to know how to handle it. I can't say, well, sir, ma'am, look, I've only been a police officer for a month. I don't know the job like this. You know, you can't, you can't do that.
Sorry.
How do you handle your mental health in that aspect of policing? How do y'all handle your mental health?
Brother Phoenix, man, I'm about to clear this segment up. But going back into defunding the police. So when you talked about defunding the police, and the city decided to take away 10%, that cut into our pay, that cut into our retirement, that cut into medical benefits. We even went through before the department ever got new vehicles. The vehicles that we were having issues, and literally our vehicles were literally breaking down while we were trying to respond to calls for service. So imagine you get a call for service for a person shot, and you can't make it from point A to point B because your vehicle broke down on you. But guess what? The city decided to take away 10%. People are quitting left and right. They're going to different places to work. You don't even have anybody to fix your vehicles. That's what defunding. So just listen to this. That's what defunding. That's what defunding the police looks like. So just imagine. So now just imagine people talk about the military weapons. Well, why do the police have to have all these armored? They look like the military with these big, thick, bulletproof vests and these AR-15s and stuff. Why do they need all that? Well, guess what? What's going to happen when you have a school shooter and we need to respond, and that school shooter has an AR-15, or that gang member has an AK-47? There was a movie called 44 Minutes. It was based off the North Hollywood shootout back in the mid-90s in California, Hollywood, California, where these two bank robbers went into a bank and they had on full body armor, had automatic AK-47s, everything. And LAPD at the time, they didn't have ARs. They didn't have none of those high-powered weapons. All they had was like 9mm Berettas and revolvers. Do you know that if you ever watched the movie or watched the documentary, because there's actually a movie out about it, you can look it up, the police had to turn around and raid the gun stores in order to get AR-15s and stuff, and pretty much tell the gun owners, hey, look, we'll pay you later, but right now we got two people with high-powered weapons and all this gear that we can't fight with our 9mm Berettas. That's all we have.
Yeah.
So they had to turn around and raid gun stores. And that's how the LAPD began to get funds, so that way all their officers could be equipped with AR-15s and stuff. So just imagine, so now when we talk about defund the police, that is what's going to happen if we defund the police. You will have officers that can't respond to calls for service because, again, like I said, the vehicle situation. You got vehicles that are down. Guess what? Don't have nobody to fix them. Oh, you want to take away our AR-15s?
Oh, guess what? Hold on, Officer West. So you saying that Trump commercial, that campaign towards Biden, when they say, it's going to be 2 weeks before somebody responds to you. So you say that's a reality. I'm gonna
tell you like this. No. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think that commercial should have been used for certain things. If you get where I'm getting at with it, I don't think that commercial should have been used like that on that aspect.
However,
but I will say that I don't believe it will get that bad. But I will say that when you're talking about defunding the police, that's kind of what you're going to get.Maybe not to that extreme.
But
I don't believe it's going to be to that extreme. But
you probably experienced like a 6 or a 7.
I would say about maybe a 6.
That's shit.
I'll say about maybe a 6.
Yeah.
So, And then my last point about defunding police, and like I said, I'm going over this because I want people to get and understand it from another perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's why you're here.
So let's just say, like, for example, the tasers, right? So some people will say, well, why did that police officer have to shoot the person? Why couldn't they just tase them? Well, guess what? Defunding the police, tasers have to be maintenance. They have to be maintenance on not on a daily basis, but maybe possibly 2 to 3 months, tasers have to be maintenance. You have some departments that would literally take tasers away from the officers, not because they don't want the officers to have them, but because they need somebody to maintenance them. When officers get tasers, you got to have somebody there that can actually know how to maintenance them, know how to be able to get them fixed and worked on, so that way the tasers run efficiently. So again, guess what? All of that has a common denominator. You know what that common denominator is?
Money.
Boom! Brother Phoenix, you were so smart, man. That's why I love you. You're so smart, man. You're oh my God. Yeah. So but again, like I said, I'm speaking from two perspectives here. The defund the police, but I'm also in agreement with, yes, there should be more cultural awareness training. There should be more training where officers can also kind of learn how to be a little bit more sympathetic and empathetic to people of different backgrounds that come from different areas where they may not totally understand, you know, and you know, and like I said again, I do believe that if we had more of that, things would be a lot better.
Yeah, and that's what I heard from you. And that's definitely what I heard from you. But man, I appreciate all the gems and experiences and everything you shared with us today. Unfortunately, it's about that time where we got to wrap things up. However, that just means that we need a part two. You know what I'm saying? It definitely needed to be continued because there's so much more we want to hear from you. However, there's two things that I want you to do for me. One, before you leave, we definitely need to hear about your book, because I know that you have a book that you need to the viewers to understand.
Phoenix dropped that at the beginning of the episode. He was like, author, and I'm like, author, tell me more.
So that's one. And then two, I need you to give me three final perspectives, right? One perspective coming from a Black man speaking to officers within with your fellow officers out there. Two, being a officer but being Black and speaking to the Black community and letting them know your perspective from there, your final perspective. And then three, speaking to America as a company commander, a captain, United States Army currently. Talk to America and give us a perspective as a veteran. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So first and foremost, I'm trying to make this real quick. So yes, I have a book that recently.
Hit the link below. Amazon is below right now. Pause this video, buy the book, then come back to us.
Also, for our listeners, please give us the title, give us your name, tell us where to find it.
Okay, so real quick, yes, this book that recently got published is called The Native Cop. The Native Cop is, I believe, is going to be a great read. It's pretty much for people who are interested in the law enforcement profession. And it's pretty much for anybody that want to get a perspective of how policing works. I wrote the book because when I was coming along in law enforcement, there was no book like this that expressed to me or told me, hey, these are the things you need to look out for. These are the things that goes on in the police world and so forth and such. So I went on ahead and decided to say, hey, look, well, there's not a book about it. There's books about O.J. Simpson and all these other mass killers and detective books, but there wasn't a book like on basic policing of, hey, this is how it is. So again, I wrote this book because one, I wanted the public to be informed of how policing works. And I wanted the public to know that, you know, based off my experience, because most of this book is based off my experience. And I wanted the public to share, I wanted to share with the public that, hey, look, you know, I do believe in cultural awareness. I do believe in cultural diversity. And the second reason why I wrote is because I think this book will be great for newcomers coming up in law enforcement as well. You know, the new rookie officers that are coming through or whatever like that, that need to have a perspective on how policing is and things to look out for. And also to keep an open mind. You know, don't just stay with the biases that you might have heard or don't just stick with what you know based off how you grew up. You know, also to look at things from a different perspective. So the Native Cop is out. You can get it on Amazon.com. It's on BarnesandNobles.com, Books A Million, Writers Republic. So it's on all those sites. You can get it. And it also too is cost efficient, so it's not going to break your pockets or anything like that. So you more than welcome to go ahead and prayerfully order you a copy or whatever the case may be. Also too, all book proceeds, whatever the case may be. It doesn't come to me as I look at it as like come to me for riches. No, the book proceeds actually goes to my son, and I make sure all proceeds go to his account for his college education. My final message to all police officers, speaking from as a Black man in America, more specifically a Black police officer, would be to, one, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. Number two, always remember, just because what you see physically is not always what it is. And what I mean by that is just because something looks like it could be bad or terrible, or just because someone may look a certain way or whatever the case may be, that's not always the case. So again, make sure that when you're out there patrolling the streets, make sure you, again, keep an open mind, and also to treat people the way you will want to be treated, or you will want somebody to treat your family. If you have a son, a daughter, aunt, uncle, I mean, we all have some of that, but more specifically, I would say a son or a daughter, treat everybody else the way you want somebody to treat your son and daughter.
Good one. Thank you. So the second perspective will be coming from a police officer, but being a Black police officer. What would you say to the Black community and the community that you came from?
I would say, continue to do what's right. Continue to protest against injustice. Continue to educate yourself, and also to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind and keep up the fight. Don't silence yourself for nothing or no one. If you feel like injustice has happened, continue to fight, continue to stand strong, but also to keep an open mind.
Rock solid. And the last perspective is coming from a veteran, someone that fought, was in combat, somebody that's currently serving as a United States captain in the Army right now, Army Reserve. What would you say from a veteran speaking to America? What would be your final words to our country?
Continue to stand up for the Constitution at all costs. No matter who our leaders are, no matter Democrat, Republican, no matter what rank you are, continue to stand up and uphold the Constitution into its entirety. Continue to fight against authoritarianism, nationalism, anything that will compromise or anything that destroys or anything that's a threat to our Constitution. Continue to fight hard. We, the veterans, we who served, is what made this nation great. Fighting for the freedoms, so that way people can have freedom of speech, so that way people can have gun rights, or whatever the case may be. We are the ones that fought for that. So as a veteran, speaking to veterans and speaking to America, continue to fight and uphold what the Constitution says and entails at all costs. Do not give up their freedoms for nothing or no one, no matter who they are.
I fucking cheers to that, man. You just moved me with that. Cheers to that.
Phoenix, you read my mind. That was powerful. I had my glass in my hand and I was ready to go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yo, Ross, cheers to you, brother. Thank you for a powerful conversation, man. It was great kicking with you on this freaking Thursday, man.
Yes, Officer West, it was a complete honor to have you on our show and to hear your perspective as an African-American man in America, as an officer, coming from your background, all of your experiences. It was really powerful to speak to you, and just thank you so much for being willing to come and speak to us. It was really a pleasure.
Hey, it was a pleasure being on the show. Thank you, Gina, and Brother Phoenix, thank you as well. I greatly appreciate the time. God bless.
No. Don't go anywhere.
We're not done quite yet. But wait, there's more.
Exactly.
But wait, there's more.
This is our thing for the week. So, Officer West, during our thing for the week, this is where we just drop our jewels on our viewers with a gem, something that a book, a quote, something that impacted us, or we would like to impact our viewers leading into next time we meet. So, without further ado, my thing of the week is look in the mirror. I want you to look in the mirror starting today and the next day going forward. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leading into the next time we see each other. And I want you to thank yourself. Let that sit with you for a moment. I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to thank yourself. And you ask yourself, why would I thank myself? Well, don't you talk bad about yourself? And what do I mean? How many times do you tell yourself, I'm fat, I could lose a little weight here. I'm not smart enough, or I didn't get the promotion because of that, or my boyfriend or spouse or this or that left me because of whatever reason you doubt yourself. But did you know that you woke up this morning? Don't you know that you're in a position where you're a great mother, a great father, a great friend, great something to someone? Don't you understand that you are amazing? So I want you to thank yourself for whatever that reason is. I thank myself because I have good people around me in a great circle. So that's what I'm going to thank myself for, because it was you to maintain those relationships. So I challenge you. This is a role model challenge. Thank yourself.
I'm not crying. It's just raining on my face.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Man, that was very, very, very touching. Man, that really hit home for me too.
Yeah, it's so true. There's
so much, man. Look at all those hats you wear. You continue. You're a freaking author. You're a company commander in the United States Army currently right now. You're a police officer serving our freaking our communities. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're amazing. Gina, you as well. You're a mother. You work at a 9 to 5. You're a freaking coach. You run your own business. You're a freaking boss. So everybody got to think themselves, and we need to remember that. And looking at you too, viewers. Remember who you are. Whatever. Don't worry about yesterday, because yesterday can't answer today's problems. You heard? Think yourself.
That's really interesting. Going into my thing of the week is I chose a quote by Jenny Lawson. The only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. It's not about being in competition with anyone else. It's about just continuing to improve you day by day. And Phoenix, I don't know how we do it.
What's up with you? Like, you in my head or something? That sound like it sound like we planned that, right?
Really, literally, we don't discuss this.
That's crazy. I'm going. But that's what we're going to leave you with. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate your comments, your views. Subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. We're here to change the world. Day by day, time by time, you and I. Let's come on, people. Let's get together. Become your model self. Click on my link. Click on Gina's link. Buy Officer Westbrook. Love y'all. We out. Gina, what you got to say?
I love it. We'll see y'all next week. Cheers.
Yeah.